Good afternoon, everybody. It's the Pollinator. Um, I'm making this video as a follow-up or a part two of the one I made yesterday about being in a relationship with a lesbian. And the reason why I'm making this particular vid is to try to clear up some misconceptions about some of the things that I said, some of the responses that I got back as I sent this video to quite a few groups on Facebook. And what I realized was that yesterday it may have come across like I wasn't in the amount of pain that I was in, and that the support that I needed. This video is more of a healing video for me. I cannot speak for my ex-partner, but I wanted everybody to know that in relationships, there's always my part, there's always her part, or whoever partner that you have, and that is super important to recognize your part in any relationship that fails, so that one learns life lessons, self lessons, so that they do not make the same mistakes. And I did go back and revise that video that I made yesterday to put more comments in it about the lessons that I learned. But interestingly enough, I think the some of the women that saw that video may have gotten their feelings hurt and triggered, but my feelings are super hurt, and I'm going to talk about why. But before I do, I'm going to say that had I followed my instincts, that much of what happened throughout that relationship would not have happened, because I dropped the ball on myself for a variety of reasons. One of them being that I was just beginning my transition. I just got on testosterone when I met her, and I was very off balance because of the effect of that steroid in my bloodstream and all of the things that start changing as you're going through transition. And I was probably very afraid to be alone during that time, and so my feelings developed very quickly, and I also allowed myself to be talked into a full-time, full-fledged relationship too quickly, when my head was saying, don't do that, do something else. But I bailed out on my instincts that said things should be progress the way that I needed them to progress, and not be talked into doing it another way. I'm fairly sure that if I had done it the way that I wanted to do it, that nothing that occurred and hurt me so much would have occurred. My bad. But let me tell you about some of the things that were going on in that relationship. First of all, I was her support emotionally, mentally, spiritually, psychologically. I put it all out on the line, and I didn't receive anything back. And it wasn't just because I'm a trans man. There were other issues going on with that individual that made her afraid of being hurt. And in that fear, I ended up getting hurt because she was afraid to get hurt, and so she would not put herself out there for me. And I got a lot of mixed messages about that. That, you know, I love you. I want to be with you the rest of my life, but was showing me that, showing me the exact opposite, which was very confusing for me. I did not know what to do with it. You know, I was struggling to gain my balance in my transition and dealing with somebody else who was afraid of being hurt, which I told her probably 6 months into it that there's this thing called a self-fulfilling prophecy, that what you fear, you will manifest. And that if you fear something so much and you hide behind these really, really tall walls, that you will bring about that which you were afraid was going to happen. And, you know, basically, she was afraid of being cheated on. And I don't, and that didn't come from me. That came from a past relationship. And what I ended up saying was, you know, if you treated that previous relationship the way that you treat me, no wonder you got cheated on. Because you neglect somebody in all facets of a relationship, and yeah, they may seek solace and comfort and understanding from someone else. And so I was having a very, very hard time not doing that. You know, I endured a year of neglect. And this thing about me expressing my wants, desires, and needs sounding like an argument was ultimately saying, I don't want to hear it. I don't care about your needs, your wants, or your desires. All I care about are mine. I catered to that lady. I put her on a pedestal. I treated her like a queen. And I remember saying that, you know, I'm treating you like a queen, but you treat me like a peasant. And that just won't do. Did that go over very well? No, I continued to be treated like a peasant, while being told, I'm going to treat you like a king. But I wasn't being treated that way. Also, you know, I would get her hair done, her toes done, her nails done. I was on the mark as far as what a partner should be about. And I wasn't, it was not reciprocated. Every once in a while, I got something done for me from her. And, you know, so see, it wasn't just about me maybe wanting top surgery, bottom surgery, or whatever. It had, most of what was going on in there had nothing to do with me being a man. It had to do with the inability, because of fear, to expose that person that said all of the things that they said to reel me in, basically. And that, she was not who she claimed to be at all. Was exactly the opposite. And, when someone tells you, I will, I promise. For me, they were all basic, future statements, meaning I will at some point. I promise at some point. But wasn't doing it in the now. And I would complain about that. I would say, I will means you aren't. I live my life in the now. The future depends on what you do today, not what you promising somebody tomorrow or the next day or the next month or the next 6 months or the next year. There was no way on earth that I could feel comfortable with something's going to happen, but it's going to happen later on. But right now, what is going to happen is what's always happened. And because of my love for her, I must have given that lady, I must have heard, give me another chance, at least 25, 30 times in a year. And I wanted to believe that continuing to give chances to show me the person that she said she was actually going to make a difference. And every time I was disappointed and let down, which is why I'm hurting so badly. I've got two things going on. One, I let that go on too long, and two, she let it go on too long. I tried to be friends. I said, this is not what healthy, long-term relationships look like, and why don't we just be friends? Because that's how I'm being treated, like a friend with benefits or a plaything. Meanwhile, I'm paying out the nose for all sorts of things, and that she invested nothing, virtually nothing in the entire. I'm embarrassed at the amount of financial support that I was giving, hoping that she got with the program. I would send her links to various things about what healthy relationships look like. I would talk with her about what they look like and feel like and sound like for me. And all of it went in one ear and out the other. So when I say somebody's not educating themselves, I wasn't just talking about educating themselves about trans men. I was also talking about educating themselves about healthy relationships. So in essence, I was trying to fix her. And that you cannot fix anybody. Now, I mentor people worldwide, and men and women, and I can only work with people and quote unquote fix them if they want to be fixed. If they come to me and they want my guidance, and they want to hear what I have to say, and they're going to actually take action on the things that I say, then that is a situation that can be healed and changed. You know, I have another saying that I heard not long ago, which was, you either make excuses or you make changes, but you cannot do both. Some people live by excuses, and for over a year, almost a year and a half, all I got in that relationship were excuses of why she could not show that she loved me. Just told me that she loved me, but there was nothing backing up those words. Absolutely nothing. What was actually happening was abuse on me, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So before anybody pops off and thinks that, you know what, I'm trashing lesbians, I was the one that got trashed in that relationship. And just because I'm not sitting on this video crying to show you how much I hurt does not mean I don't hurt about everything that happened. So for, you know, any women that are watching this video that think, oh, he's just being harsh about lesbians. No, I just wasn't saying a lot of the things that happened inside of that relationship. I gave that lady her first plane ride ever in life, just to do something for her. And do you know, every single thing I ever did was there was no appreciation whatsoever for me. No living in grace, no living in gratitude, no living in appreciation on her part. I get a thanks, and then within days, I would be getting asked to do something else. And when I asked to have things done for me, didn't happen. And, you know, I mentioned in the other video that I did not tell anybody 1/100th of what was going on in that relationship for me. And I did not want to diss her, but I want to tell people today that I am a very loving, giving, sweet guy who, under those circumstances, I was beginning to unravel and be resentful, which I cannot serve my purpose on the planet and be resentful all the time about things that were going on in that relationship. It was like a push and pull for me. And you know, I'm just an ordinary guy up to extraordinary things. And to have an anchor around my ankle pulling me the other direction was almost cruel to me. Because how was I going to get all of the things that I needed to get done while I was also the only one doing any kind of support in that relationship? So I just wanted to put some of this out there that, trying to look at how long this thing is, that it wasn't just about the topic that I chose, that I most definitely am healing, trying to heal right now. and I'm getting support from friends and family. Sorry about that noise up there. Friends, family, and my therapist. And I'm having a tough time with this. You know, when you lay it all out there and the other person is laying out 10%, it's maddening. And I'm going to repeat again, though, that if I had listened to my head that was telling me after a month of that, after the proposal, and a month of that the next day and thereafter for a month, that I should have shut it down, and I didn't, because I was weak. I was confused. I was changing. I didn't drop my lesbian label until I was on testosterone for 3 months or 4 months. So I was coming into a different understanding of who I was at the time. I was changing. When I first started testosterone, I had no desires to bind, which is to wear something up here that, you know, makes your chest look more like a male. I didn't want to pack. I ended up doing that. I didn't want top surgery. I didn't even think about that until the question was asked whether I was going to do it or not. I would observe what was being said in those groups I mentioned. I didn't even participate in it, in any of those groups. I just watched and saw what was being said and thought about it. And I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready until I was ready to actually do something different. And you know, and I kind of got negative feedback every time I did any of it. When I got a binder, when I got a packer, and in trying not to be alone in my transition, I ended up alone anyway. I did this whole thing by myself inside of a relationship. I felt so lonely in that relationship. And I mean, there were periods of time where she was kind of there for me, but for really big things, she wasn't. We celebrate probably for the first year, every single month that we hit, you know, our testosterone starting date. And I would make a post or a video about it. I got nothing from her. She did not celebrate that with me. I did it alone and with support from other guys. When I hit a year, I mean, the things that I got was, when I did put out a post, was just liking the post and saying congratulations, while I was sitting there watching the couples in my group and the things that those women were doing for those men. I mean, parties, balloons, celebrations, cakes, all sorts of things that they would literally ask everybody, or the other women in the room, my husband or my boyfriend or whoever wants a packer, what should I buy him? Or he wants a binder, where do I go to look for that for him? And, you know, when their year anniversary came up, I want to throw a big old party. What do you ladies think I should do? What kind of ideas? I didn't get none of that. And I was resentful about it, considering I was being told every day, every other day, that I love you, I'm in love with you, but I ain't gonna celebrate shit, basically, with you about your transition. Did I need that? Did I want that from her? Yes. I would have much preferred to get those things from her than a bunch of guys on Facebook. So I hope you understand and see my side, my feelings, my bleeding, not that lesbian woman's. I didn't make any of that happen. I didn't cause any of that. That was all coming from her. And I don't want to play the blame game, but I am a very strong man who found himself victimized by all of the crap and issues going on with her. They weren't my issues to resolve, to solve, to heal, or to fix. And so it wasn't fair to me. And again, I'm going to have to keep repeating this, because if I had stopped all of that a month after I started seeing some of it, I wouldn't have experienced any of it for the next year and almost a half. So that's my part. But I'm working it out with people who can understand and have compassion for me for what I went through, and not being able to let go of that, because I kept trying to keep hope alive. I kept trying to resolve the things that were going on in that relationship by myself. I had no cooperation from her. Anytime it was safe to laugh and talk about things in my life and what I was doing with my life, but it was completely off. It was completely inappropriate to her for me to get some reciprocation of the things that I was doing for her. That's why every time I talked about my needs, wants, and desires, it turned into an argument. And literally being told I don't want to argue, which told me she was arguing. She didn't want to hear it. So of course I would get upset and keep going and keep talking about it and keep going. And, somebody tells you they don't want to argue, then they don't say anything and they're arguing up here. And then when you're finished talking, we'll say something that starts an argument. So all of that, well, I wanted to let you say your piece, was loaded silence. It was not healthy. And in fact, inside of my house, you could cut the air with a knife in here. And that wasn't coming from me, because I'm fine in here by myself. I have a great time. But with that kind of energy in the house, I would be like, we got to get out of the house, or I got to get out of the house, because the air is too thick in here. We're supposed to be having a great time. Why did you say yes when I proposed? If everything about that lady said, no, I didn't mean it. I just wanted that rock. And you know how I know that? Because she told me, maybe almost a year later, that ring meant more to her than anything. That ring meant more to her than I did, because I'm included in the everything. So I'm not even going to tell you what happened to it. But I just want people to understand that even though I let it go on and I tried to keep hope alive and I tried to keep everything afloat, including my transition, which is not a cakewalk, people. This is a physiological change. It isn't just emotional with some mood swings. My thoughts were changing. The things I said were changing. I mean, a lot. We go through a lot. This is tough. This is hard. And I could do bad all by myself if I want to. I happen to do pretty good all by myself. You know that movie, what's his name? Oh man, you know, Medea made a movie called I Could Do Bad All By Myself. And that's pretty much what it boiled down to. Why, you know, I don't need to do bad and somebody else is doing bad, and or because they're doing bad, I end up doing bad. I was angry because I kept wanting my way too. If I'm going to give somebody their way, it's only fair to give them their way. It'd be a compromise. It'd be, you know, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. And that's not what happened. I was the only one doing any scratching. I was the only one doing any support of all her issues. I got to hear them all. And they were all an excuse not to love me, not to support me, not to be there for me when I needed her. I shouldn't have let it go on. But I did. And for that, you know, I have to heal. You know, I have melted down plenty of times around this. And, you know, my best friend asked me or told me, man, you need to just figure out why you did all that. What is it that you did? And once you figure that out, it's going to hit you over the head like a light bulb, and you will never let it happen again. So a lot of that video I made yesterday was also convincing me not to ever let it happen again. I could not survive another relationship like that. And I do know that God will probably test my resolve and test whether I stick by my instincts when I see them, whether I run when somebody's got a gazillion red flags going on, and whether I, you know, try to stay with them. Why would I do that unless there's some kind of deficiency or something going on with me? When I see all that and I dive in anyway, or I allow myself to be manipulated, or I allow myself to be lied to, or I allow that stuff to happen, I have to build my strength and not in following my instincts. And when they say something's wrong, it's wrong for me. And don't try to fix it. Don't sit in there and think, you know, you're going to be able to be bigger than that problem. The only thing that is bigger than my problems in my life is God. He can heal and fix anything. So, you know, and people who love me and show that they love me, that they show it. So these are some of the things that I wanted to express about that video I made yesterday. And that if this triggers you, if it triggers you, then you're guilty of some of the things I'm talking about. And shame on you. Not shame on me for voicing it, for putting it out into the universe. That God, please, don't let me do that again. Because that shit hurt. Okay? And why did I allow myself to be hurt? I know some of the reasons, but it doesn't erase the fact that it happened and that I have to heal from it. I wanted everything about that to work, and I did my best. Of course, I did start pulling things out that I have been doing and insisted on demonstration of their love for me, of her love for me. And that if I didn't get those demonstrations, I'm not giving any demonstrations. I will start giving less and less and less until there's nothing there. Because I was the only one demonstrating. And that's exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened. I would go to therapy and my therapist would ask, any demonstrations? I said, no. Yeah, she demonstrated the same thing she's been demonstrating for over a year. And she would ask me, Ray, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do about that? I had to protect myself. I had to protect my feelings. I had to protect myself from being used and abused. So it's what I'm doing right now. And why I said I'm not going to date another lesbian. Because that, and you know, I'm not saying all of them would behave that way. That's just what I experienced. And I told you I'm still grieving and I haven't gotten over it. So part of this is my way of getting over it and never letting it happen again. So everybody have a blessed day, and I hope this touches someone out there and that they actually feel something for the pollinator, not that woman who happened to be a lesbian. What happened to me can happen to anybody. Lesbian, bi, heterosexual, it doesn't matter. If something is not working, it's time to fold up the tent instead of trying to make it work. So everybody have a blessed day and a blessed week, and peace. Namaste.